StrayAllDay.com.
Tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, no, we're not done. You get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves all of us, including, of course, yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. We put all this together in one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one show. This masterclass here that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. Today's topic is what feels good versus what works. These are two completely different things. Now, this framework that I'm going to be laying out for you here today, you can apply this to any situation in your life where your goal is tangible results. Now, anything that you do in life where you're not after tangible results, you just want to piss into the wind and just burn up time and just use up a whole lot of energy but not actually get a result, not have a tangible outcome from it, then don't use this. All right, just ignore this. Don't use this in those times in your life. Now, anything you do in your life where you actually want a real result, you want your actions to actually produce an outcome that you can say, hey, this is what I did and this is the result that I got from it, then this framework that I'm going to give you here today, you will apply. Understand that if you're looking to do something that is not just using up your time, most valuable resource you have, and your energy, which is 85% of the job in life, and then crash at the end. If you don't want to just crash at the end after you use a bunch of time and energy, you want to get a real result that you can say, because I did all these things, here is my return on investment. Time, energy, attention, money, focus, the 5 forms of investment, then use this framework. The reason why I'm talking about this is because often in life, and if you look around the world today, I mean, the great thing about social media is that you can see everybody's business. I mean, that's the whole purpose of social media, for people to put their business in the street. You know, it used to be you never wanted to put your business in the street. Social media was created so that people like me and you could put our business in the street as much as we wanted to. And here's the interesting thing about social media. Everybody seems to want to put their business in the street. So since that is, you can take advantage of this truth by going on social media, and you'll see a whole lot of people telling you everything that they're doing, showing you everything that they got going on, or at least everything that they want you to believe they have going on, or everything they want you to believe that they're doing. And here's the thing that you're going to notice if you really start paying attention and looking with a critical eye. A lot of people are doing things that look good, sound good, and feel good. But if you ask them, or if you ask yourself and just look at their actions and draw a line from the actions that they're taking to whatever outcome is produced, you will find that that line is endless because there is no outcome. There is no result is being produced. And one thing, anytime that I see someone using up a whole lot of energy or doing a whole lot of whatever they're doing, and there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of sound and fury around what they're doing, my question is always, all right, what's the plan? What is the outcome here? How will you know that you have actually reached your desired destination through all of this energy that you're using up and all this time that you're investing to doing it? And if there's no answer, if people don't have an answer as to what is the actual result here, then I'm going to throw that right back at them. Like, you don't have an answer as to what the result is, and why are you doing all these things? You don't know what the outcome is. What are you doing? And this is something that you need to start asking yourself with every action that you're taking. What are the results that are actually being produced here? Am I doing something because it feels good, because it looks good, because it sounds good, or am I doing something because I'm trying to actually achieve a result? Sometimes in life, you will be able to blend both. You'll be able to do things that feel good, look good, sound good, and they produce results. But there are other times in life where you're going to need to do things that may not feel that great, may not look that great, and may not sound too great. You may not even talk about them, but they do produce results. And when it comes to a point in your life where you have to choose between what feels good versus what works, this framework will help you know that you do actually have a choice. Because if you're going to choose what works, you have to know how to do the things that actually work. That's the framework I'm going to share with you here today. Point number 1. The topic, once again, is what feels good versus what works. First thing is that you must accept that doing things that produce actual results require delayed gratification. Is everyone familiar with what delayed gratification is? It means you do not get immediate results from your actions, which is what most people want, because a lot of people take actions only because they are emotionally driven to take that action. Emotionally driven meaning they know what they want, what the outcome is. They understand you can't get something for nothing. So they go and start taking action based on the simplest line they can draw from the result that they want to the actions that they're going to take. And the problem is the long-term payoff of delayed gratification is often much better than the immediate gratification that most emotional people need, emotionally driven people need, because everybody's emotional on some level. And the results last a lot longer when they are based on delayed gratification. For example, I'll say, if you're hungry and you go eat some candy, do you get an immediate result? Of course you do. The candy tastes good. Listen, I like candy just as much as you. I probably like candy more than you. So when I'm hungry, sometimes I might see some candy in the pantry and I'm gonna eat that candy. Sometimes I might be at CVS or Walgreens and I'm gonna buy me some candy, 2 for $3. I know the deals. I will buy me some candy. Or if I'm at the mall, you know those little stands, those kiosks in the mall in the middle of the walkway where you can like use a little scoop and you bag up your own candy, and that candy is marked up like 5 times more than if you just bought it from the pharmacy or the grocery store. Yeah, I buy that candy, all right, because it looks so good, like the little watermelons and the peach rings, and the peach rings, but then they got the apple ones and the strawberry and the watermelon. I'm into all of that, okay? So if I'm hungry for a snack, I might eat some candy. It gives me immediate gratification. The problem is that gratification does not last. The gratification from eating candy lasts for about as long as the duration of the eating is going on. As soon as the candy is done, as soon as I'm finished eating that $12 worth of candy that I bought from the little kiosk in the mall, I got like a handful of candy and it cost me $12. As soon as I'm done eating it, all right, now I gotta pay for that. All right, now the payback comes. Now I might have drawn myself a little bit closer to getting my next cavity in my teeth. Or I get the crash because I ate all that manufactured, chemically engineered sugar. There's not even real sugar that allowed that candy to taste the way that it tastes. Now I'm even hungrier than I was when I was first hungry, thinking that the candy was going to solve it. So yes, did I get an immediate result? Absolutely. Is it a good long-term result? Hell no. So if I decided, conversely, to eat vegetables instead of eating candy, if I eat some spinach or I eat a meal, like go to a store or go to my refrigerator and eat an actual meal rather than eating candy, is it going to give me immediate gratification? On some level, yes, because it takes care of my hunger. I'm no longer hungry after I eat a well-balanced meal. But does it satisfy me as much as eating that candy would? Probably not. It's not going to satisfy the instant gratification part of me as well, because the candy is just fun. It's fun to eat candy, right? Isn't it? Can everybody agree with me? Any of those of you who eat candy, isn't it fun to eat some candy? It's fun to eat open up a package of Skittles. It's fun to eat a Snickers bar. It's fun to eat I like those peanut butter cups with the white chocolate. You know what I'm talking about? Not the brown chocolate like the Reese's. The Reese's cups I mess with, but I'm talking about the white chocolate peanut butter cups. They sell them at Whole Foods. They call Justin's Natural Peanut Butter, something like that. They make the white chocolate ones. Those ones I mess with hard, and I don't even eat that much candy. But when I'm at Whole Foods, I will grab one of those every now and then. Just talking about it got me thinking about buying one. But anyway, eating vegetables versus eating candy. Delayed gratification when you eat vegetables. Do eating vegetables pay off more than eating candy? Does the effect of eating vegetables last longer and do more for your life in the long term than eating candy will do for your life? The answer is absolutely it does. The challenge with this is most people will not choose the vegetables when there's vegetables sitting right next to some candy, because the candy is going to give you an immediate result. The vegetables don't give you anything right there in the moment. They don't do anything for you that much in the moment. And it may be a pain in the ass for you to even eat them, but in the long run, eating those vegetables will help your life. Challenge is a lot of people do not have the discipline required to make that choice. What's another one? If you got a choice of what to do for the next hour of your life, you got an hour free, what can you do with it? You could exercise. You could do some push-ups and sit-ups and, I don't know, some squats and some burpees in your living room. Put your workout music on, grab yourself a little yoga mat and do your workout. You could do that because you know you've been telling yourself you need to work out, even though the gym's been closed for months. You haven't been able to go to the gym. Maybe they're open now by the time you're hearing this. And you could do that. Or you can watch Netflix. You can watch the next episode of that show you've been binge watching on Netflix. Both of them will take about an hour. Which one are you going to do? Now, which one is going to pay you off better in the long run? Is that Netflix show going to do anything for you tomorrow? No. It's going to do anything for you next week, 6 months from now, over the next 20 years of your life? No, 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 and no. Now, what about working out? Is that going to pay off for you tomorrow? Yes, because your body will be in better shape. You will have more energy. You've exercised your heart, so your heart will be stronger, and hopefully it continues to beat, and it continues to beat for longer. All of these positive benefits. Maybe you'll flush, since you were sweating, you'll flush some toxins out of your system. And maybe, just maybe, you have started the positive forward momentum of actually exercising finally, so that you'll do it again the next day and the next day and the next day. So is working out going to pay off for you in the long run? Yes. Is it giving you any immediate gratification? The actual act of working out is not always that fun. As I talked about in the whole concept of the third day. It's not fun to work out often in the moment, especially if it's a hard workout. I've been going outside just today, actually. I was running outside in Miami, and I'm recording this in the summertime. It's hot. It's not even just that it's hot. Any of you who's been to South Florida, you understand it's humid. It's the humidity that's the problem. I don't actually mind heat. Heat is just the sun hitting you, and the air can be rather arid. I like humidity because there's more sweat. I don't like dry air like that. So I'm not into desert climates. But in Miami, it is super humid. Any of you who has ever tried to do any kind of exercising outside in the summertime in Miami, and the summertime in Miami goes from about, we'll say from maybe April through, not even April, we'll say May through early October. All right, that's the summer in Miami, like damn near half the year. The air is so thick with humidity. It's almost like you can taste the moisture in the air, and it's not raining. It's just super humid here. That's just the type of climate that we have here. And you try to work out here, it's almost like you are breathing in water. All right, imagine breathing in water. All right, if you're breathing in water, they usually call that drowning, right? And that's what it's like trying to work out outside in the humidity in Miami. But doing that will pay off for me in the long run more than sitting in my house watching Netflix, even though Netflix will be very fun in a moment. So to do things that feel good versus what works, the first thing you have to understand is delayed gratification is the name of the game. If you cannot accept delayed gratification, then that means you need to work on your discipline game. And if you get my book, The Mirror of Motivation, Self-Guide, Self-Discipline, it is free at mirrorofmotivation.com. So you have no reason to not get it because it's free. All you do is take care of the shipping. Get your delayed gratification game up, then it will be much easier for you to at least get started on doing things that actually produce results. Because immediate gratification, outcome, actions usually do not produce long-term results. Because if they did, then everybody would just be doing those and getting long-term results from immediate gratification. It just doesn't add up that way. Point number 2. Today's topic is what feels good versus what works. Think about the second and third order consequences. This is something that I talked about in a previous episode of this show, and that was in masterclass number 1306. Understanding the levels of consequences. In other words, after you take one action, ask yourself, okay, not is what the immediate result of this action, but what's the result of the result? In other words, if I eat some vegetables right now, if I go eat a box of spinach, those of you who follow my stories on Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat, you see me with the spinach every single day. If I eat some spinach right now, what is the immediate result of eating that spinach? Well, what does spinach taste like? Any of you who's ever tried some, you know it tastes like what it looks like. It tastes like grass and water. That's pretty much what it tastes like. Grass and water is what spinach tastes like. Some good spinach. I'm talking about some organic, triple washed spinach. Don't get the cheap spinach from your local grocery store. Get it from like the organics section where it's already been triple washed. It tastes a whole lot better than the cheap stuff. Trust me, and it's worth the extra money. Well, eating it, you get the feeling in your system that you just ate some greenery. That's exactly, it tastes exactly how it looks. And what else? What's the next order of consequence of it? There's not really a next order of consequence from eating spinach. Now, later on down the line, it's giving you fiber, so it'll help your digestion. You'll probably be healthier overall in the long run. You're getting the minerals and nutrients that are within it. I cannot explain those scientifically. I can't tell you tangibly exactly what they do for me. I've never done a study, but I'm sure if you do a little bit of Googling very quickly, you can figure out what those are. I don't know. Didn't write them in my notes, but you can find out. But there isn't really much after that in terms of some stuff that you can see that is very obvious. There are results that come from eating vegetables. I think some scientists out there have proven that somewhere along the line. Again, I didn't read those studies, but I think they've been proven, because if I didn't think that, then I wouldn't be eating vegetables. I eat it because I believe that those scientists know what they're talking about, even though I cannot recite their data to you. Now, if I was to eat some candy, what is the immediate result? The immediate result of eating candy is I feel great because I got to eat those sweets. And again, scientists have chemically engineered this food to taste a certain way to keep me addicted to it, to make me want to eat more. So I feel great after I eat the candy. But what's the next order consequence after the candy? After the initial feeling of eating it, what's the next order consequence is I've broken down my teeth a little bit more, which means I may be closer to a cavity. The next order of consequence, and this could be actually could go before that, is I'm going to have that crash, right? That sugar high brought me up, but then about 30 minutes later, I'm going to crash off that sugar high. So that's another that's the second order consequence. The third order consequence is that I'm destroying my teeth. The fourth order consequence is I might ruin my appetite for dinner because I just ate a whole bag of Skittles instead of getting my appetite ready to eat a full, balanced meal. So when we talk about second and third order consequences, what you need to start considering in your life is not only what are the immediate results of any action that I take, but what are the results of the results. If you're talking to someone and they messed up, let's say someone's doing a job for you and they clearly messed up and they're telling you that they messed up, you might snap and just cuss them out and yell at them and berate them for making the mistake that they made. Now, the first order consequence is you feel great because you got to cuss that person out and put them in their place and tell them how wrong they were, right? But what's the second order consequence? Depending on who that person is, they might get mad at you and they might cuss you out in retribution for cussing them out. Or they may be so angry at you that they stop talking to you. Or they may be so upset that they never do anything for you ever again. Or they may be so upset that they punch you in the face and they want to physically fight you. Or you may, even though you cussed them out and showed them and told them what they needed to know, someone else heard you do that and saw you do it. And now that other person thinks differently of you after seeing you snap at a different person that had nothing to do with them. But because of the way they saw you lose your cool and lose your temper, now they're thinking differently of you. So this is a second or third order consequence. Maybe later on, somebody else hears about what you did who wasn't even there, but they hear about it because word gets around and now they're looking at you different. So that could be the fourth order consequence. So it may feel good in the moment to do certain things. The immediate gratification of an action that you take may be very good for you, but you need to think about what is the next consequence and the next consequence and the next consequence from my actions. Every wise individual thinks in this way. If you're not used to thinking in this way, this is something that you can train yourself to do. You just have to be conscious of it. All right, if I take this action, this is the result that I'm going to get, but what's the next result after this? And what's the next result after that? And what's the next result after that? When you start thinking in this way, instead of just thinking point A to point B, start thinking, all right, what happens if I do this, then the next thing, the next thing, and the next thing. Again, this requires you putting space between the stimulus and the response. Because if something happens, again, you feel a twinge of hunger in your stomach, that's the stimulus. If you immediately react to it by grabbing whatever's in the pantry, like a bag of chips or a bag of Skittles or some candy, well, okay, you will get the immediate gratification, but then the second and third order consequences kick in and none of them is good for you. So if you put some space between the stimulus, which is you feel hungry, and the response, instead of responding by just grabbing the first thing you see in the pantry, you start thinking, because that space between the stimulus and the response is where you get to think, and you say to yourself, it'll probably be a bad idea for me to eat candy right now because of all these second, third, and fourth order consequences. How about instead I eat some spinach, or I eat some carrots, or I eat whatever it is you got there that would be a more healthy choice than eating some candy. Now, in the long run, the second, third, and fourth order consequences of that will be much more positive for you. Again, this is just you training yourself to think further ahead into the future than just the immediate results of your actions. Point number 3, today's topic is what feels good versus what works. Point number 3, you must develop the self-discipline to employ all the things that I'm talking about here. And again, my book, The Mirror of Motivation, is the self-guide to self-discipline. So I don't think there's a better book on discipline than that one right there. You can get that at mirrorofmotivation.com. Understand that when people are driven by emotion, they have a very hard time with what I'm talking about here because they are incapable of thinking long-term when you're in a state of being driven by your emotions. The thing that I say about emotions is that they make great gas pedals but terrible steering wheels. Use your logic and your reason to control the direction of where you're going, but then use your emotion to push you in that direction. But never allow your emotions to grab control of the steering wheel of your life, because they will steer you in all kinds of crazy different directions that you don't want to be on it. So when people are driven by emotion and they allow their emotions to grab the steering wheel of their lives, they are incapable of thinking long term because they are only capable of focusing on the immediate results of their actions. For example, when somebody gets angry, what do people do when they're angry? They lash out, they yell, they take action that they may later regret. Why? Because they are only focused on the immediate results of getting that anger out in whatever way that they do. The problem is this. That is tactical thinking. When you're driven by emotion, you are thinking tactically. What can I do right now that's going to produce this result? Tactical thinking in the long term becomes exhausting. It's like running on a treadmill. No matter how hard you go, you're still in the exact same spot. And somebody can always beat you at tactical thinking. You're a tactical thinker. There's someone who can always get more angry than you, put words together better than you can, eat more candy than you can. There's always someone who can perform a tactic better than you. And if you perform any tactic often enough to your benefit, eventually someone's going to use it against you, and it will be your detriment. Strategy, on the other hand, plays out over an extended period of time. But with good strategy, you will not have to keep repeating the strategy over and over again. Because if you plan and execute a good strategy one time well, then you may not ever have to do it again. The results of that one-time execution will pay for itself over and over again over the long term. That is the exact point of what I'm talking about here. And this is all about the self-discipline to employ. What I'm talking about is taking the things that may feel good, look good, and sound good, but instead deciding to do the things that actually produce long-term results for you. In order for you to do that, you got to go even before anything we talked about here and decide what is or what are the long-term results that you're after. If you don't know the answer to that question, then you cannot apply anything that I've shared here today. So make sure you got that part taken care of. You can get that through the mental workbook at workonmygame.com/workbook. Let's recap today's class, which is what feels good versus what works. This is a framework you can apply to any situation in which you are after tangible results, not just using up time and energy and crashing at the end. Point number one, this requires delayed gratification. You will not get immediate results from it, which is what most people want when they are driven by their emotions, but the long-term payoff is much better and it will last a lot longer. Like eating vegetables versus eating candy, working out at home versus watching Netflix at home. Point number two, think about the second and third order consequences of your actions. In other words, what is the result after the result? This is what we call strategic thinking. Even though your first instinct may serve you right now if you follow it, you got to ask yourself, what is the consequence of following that first instinct? And what's the next consequence after that and the one after that? This requires you putting space in between the stimulus and the response. Point number three, develop the self-discipline to employ what we're talking about here. Emotionally driven people have a hard time with what I'm talking about, this topic here today, because they're incapable, because they're driven by their emotions, they're incapable of thinking long term. They can only focus on the immediate results of their actions. The problem with that, tactical thinking is exhausting. It's like running on a treadmill. No matter how hard you go, you're still in the same spot. And somebody can always beat you at tactics. Strategy, on the other hand, plays out over time, but with a good, sound strategy that is properly executed, you will not have to keep doing it over and over again, unlike a tactic, which you are basically committing yourself to a job for the rest of your life. Work on your game. Dre all day.